Hi, I'm Jimmy Butler, and welcome to the Agile Digest, where we have right-sized topics covered in just minutes. Today's topic, deadlines and Agile, a perfect match. It's about 5 minutes. Enjoy. Well, when it comes to deadlines and Agile, we have conflicting thoughts. One line of thinking is that deadlines are about getting planned work done in the planned time. That deadlines are important because without them, people won't work as hard or get things done as quickly, and that we need deadlines to stay on time or to keep to our plan. But another line of thinking says that, well, Agile doesn't lock in scope, so the concept of getting planned work done in the planned time just doesn't fit. And we don't need arbitrary deadlines to motivate our team to produce, and that scope must remain variable in order to chase value. So while we replan constantly, we don't hold tightly to plans. And so the conflict really comes down to fixed versus variable scope. Traditional deadlines come from traditional project management lines of thought, where we have fixed time and cost to deliver some fixed scope. So the triangle on the left, your typical triple constraints, is you define all the scope up front, that leads to the cost and the timeline, and then you lock in all three into a plan that's agreed upon by contract or some other agreement. Well, Agile flips that triangle upside down. It still fixed the cost and the deadline or the timeline, so you have a particular team for a particular period of time, which is going to cost X, but it leaves scope variable. And the reason it does this is because, for one, you need to allow for changing priorities so that you're chasing value rather than some preconceived notion of what you were supposed to commit to. But also that you need to work off of the team's sustainable pace. And we have a digest where we talk about sustainable pace. That's unique to each team. So based on the team size, based on the types of complex problems they're trying to solve, they're going to come up with a pace that they can maintain consistently for a long period of time. And it's that pace that determines how much scope is going to get done in that timeline. And so it's fixed versus variable scope is where our tension is. So I don't know if it's as much a conflict as it is a perspective. See, Agile actually loves deadlines, and they're called time boxes. There are sprints and our releases and our overall project or contract. Each one of those has a start date and an end date to them. And so those are the time boxes we're working within. And the image on the screen here kind of depicts that, where you have your smaller time boxes for your sprints, which make up your bigger time boxes for your release, which make up your bigger time box for your project. And your goal is to get as much value delivered within inside of each of those time boxes, which is why your scope is variable. So maybe we just rethink the conflict. And the key here is to let go of plans and start embracing continuous planning so that we have mid and long-term scope targets versus upfront detailed requirement commitments. We have the flexibility to change direction each sprint versus holding on to original commitments so that we can chase value versus just checking off task milestones. And so in the image on this screen is that repetitive cycle of plan, do, experience it, reflect on it, replan, and repeat. And we do that inside of our time boxes until our project time box is complete or our release time box is complete. And so it's about variable scope, chasing value, but working toward those time box deadlines. So if we're not really tracking the planned work, how do we measure success if we're getting away from these traditional deadline concepts? Well, we just do it differently. So we're going to be focused on outcomes versus outputs. So we want to see the value and the goals we're achieving versus the actual activity we're doing. We want to look at the rate of delivering value. One of the Agile principles is that we're delivering working software early and often. So how early and often is work making it through your pipeline? And those are your lead time and cycle times, and we'll have a digest on that specifically. User satisfaction is key. I mean, it's the user who uses your product, and they're the ones that are going to best tell you if you delivered value or not. So ask them, get feedback, and take a look at your product usage. You do that in combination with user satisfaction to see what parts of your application are being used the most, which parts aren't being used at all. If you're delivering features that aren't being used, maybe you didn't deliver value. And then take a look at your team health and the maturity of the team as a cohesive group and as they're moving toward Agile transformation, because a mature team is going to deliver a better quality product. They're going to be chasing better value each increment, and they're going to deliver that working software early and often. And so you get all those things by default by maturing and growing your team. And there are ways to track your team health as well. So those are some ways you're going to start measuring success that are a little bit differently than tracking to a plan. Well, that concludes this digest. I always welcome your feedback, so please email me at the email address on the screen. Thank you.